Welcome to this episode of Your Wellness MD podcast. Family physician and wellness expert, Dr. Daniela Stein, has meaningful conversations that will take your health to the next level. She explores the connection between a healthy body, mind, and soul, and shares tips that will enable you to thrive. Dr. Stein has helped thousands of people have a better quality of life by improving their health with science-based knowledge, education, better nutrition, mindfulness, and lifestyle choices. Join us today, empowering you to live your best life with optimal health.
Hey, I'm Dr. Daniela Stein. I'm a medical doctor and a wellness expert, and I'm the author of the international bestseller, Thrive Through Menopause. And I'm so excited to have a special guest on my podcast today, Cathy. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you, Daniela. It's lovely to be here and to be speaking with you.
So Cathy is the founder of a product called CoolYourSweats. It's an amazing product, and I'll give Cathy a little bit time later to explain to all of you what it is. But through my journey helping patients through menopause, I found that the number one thing to help people through menopause is to improve their quality of sleep. And then addressing the quality of sleep, there's many different things we have to address, but a big thing is their temperature. Because if you're waking up with night sweats, then you're not going to get sleep well. You're not going to get a good quality. And this is where Cathy comes in, because she's the expert specifically in that field. And it's such an incredible journey to hear how you've come upon this product. So I'm going to give the floor to you, Cathy. Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, because you're not a clothing designer by background. Tell us a bit about your background.
Well, I come to it in a sort of circuitous route. I have a background I have a master's degree in political science and environmental studies, and I got that way back in 1993. And I was an environmental consultant for 25 years, and I still am. So I, like many women, started suffering from menopause symptoms in about 2010 or so, only I didn't know that they were menopause symptoms.
See, that's the big thing that I find with many people, and that's my hope with this podcast, that we'll really tell people, so if you're having these random symptoms, it could be, how old were you when you started having these symptoms?
Well, my first symptom was irritability. Oh my goodness, was I ever irritable? And that started in about 2005, 2006. It lasted for about 3 or 4 years. It was my irritability was beyond irrational, and there was nothing that would cause it, but I would be incredibly irritable. I didn't know it was related to menopause until—
No, you just think it's everyone around you that's annoying you.
It was just, and they weren't doing nothing. My husband would be chopping a tomato beside me in the kitchen, and I'd want to reach over and strangle him. He's chopping a tomato, right? He's allowed to do that. So it took me forever to sort of take a step back. I think I was talking to a friend saying, my God, anything tips me off right now. I don't know what's going on. And she said, me too. And she said, it might be hormones. And I said, what? We're too young for that. I think I was in my early 40s. And so that's why, but once she said that, and I identified that it probably was hormones, I was able to take a step back and say, okay, what's really going on here? And then even when I was irritable, I was able to let it go. So that's really what did it. Was just a chat with a friend and recognizing that it was probably due to the hormone balance shift. And then I was able to manage the irritability a little bit better.
So, and that's so incredible. And that's a big part of what I do at this lifestyle clinic, is we don't need to treat everything with a hormone. We can just recognizing symptoms, addressing symptoms, and then teaching yourself that ability, because you're at an age where you have lots of maturity and wisdom. So as soon as you know that irritability isn't the person, you don't have to get the person out of your life. It is you that helps us, right, to frame the situation so different.
Reframing was key to managing it. And once I'd done that, then I was so much better. So So the irritability subsided. And then in 2012, actually, I had a terrible concussion, which led to an increase in migraines. And then migraines increased or sort of blended with menopause. And so my migraines kept getting worse and worse and worse until by 2016, I actually could only work part-time. I had about 15 migraines a month. It was awful.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was awful. And everything triggered migraines. My doctor had told me to keep a migraine journal. I had seen craniosacral therapists, I'd seen acupuncturists, I'd seen massage therapists, I'd seen like every holistic thing I could think of. Plus I'd seen neurologists, you name it. I'd been for everything because I wanted to get rid of them. I'd done progesterone therapy, nothing worked. And then I did an elimination diet, and I had to take dairy out. I had to take alcohol, of course, out. I had to take gluten out, but I also had to take exercise out. So intense cardio exercise, and that almost killed my my sense of well-being. I was just so depressed because I basically had to live in a box for the summer of 2016, and I could barely. I was so upset because I couldn't do anything. I could not do anything. I was so frustrated. So I went to my doctor and I said, is there anything I can do? And she said, there's this new drug called Aimovig, and you might want to try it. And it's really for people who get more than 15 migraines a month. And so she wrote the prescription. And just as I was about to go and get it filled, I noticed that I was having only 3 migraines a week. And then it was down to 2 migraines a week. And as I started, and I thought, you know what? I think I'm doing all right now. So I reached that peak in the summer of 2016. And then I started to get better and better and better. And eventually I could introduce dairy back into my life and have a glass of wine once in a while. So that was my migraine journey. And I still get migraines, but I know exactly what to do, how to handle them. And they're no longer debilitating. So I can deal with them when I get them. So that's all good. Everything is fine.
But I want to pause here. I'm so happy to hear, the steps that you did. So I'm sorry that it happened. And migraines after concussion are brutal. Migraines through menopause are brutal. But then I did more training in functional medicine. And that's really the first thing that we do when someone comes to us, even if something else caused it, we say, but what are the things that we can control? And that would be things like eliminating dairy or food intolerances. And sometimes my patients find it overwhelming if they say, what? I can't drink wine anymore. You're taking my only joy away from me. However, it's often not for always. And even with the gluten and dairy, some people will always do poorly on it. But then for some people, it's really just to help you through that phase, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, as you say, so it was a friend of mine who's a GP, and she saw me suffering one night. Like I was 3 weeks of a solid migraine. And she said, one of my patients, I told her to take gluten out. Do you want to see if that works? So I did. It was we were playing bridge. It was a casual conversation, but she could see, actually everyone could see there was an aura that you give off when you have a migraine, and I had it. So I eliminated gluten, and I was great for 3 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, the migraine started coming back. So I thought, you know what, instead of going back onto gluten, I think what I'll do is take dairy out. So that was when the dairy left. And again, I was fine for 3 weeks, and then the migraine started coming back. So this was how I did a gradual elimination based on based on what I thought I was able to handle at the time, because an elimination diet is incredibly difficult. It is hard. It is hard. So I did love my glass of wine at night. I'm not even a huge drinker. I drink maybe I don't anymore for other reasons, but so I only drink about 4 ounces, not glasses, 4 ounces of wine a night over liberal ice, so that will last me all night long. So anyway, so having said all that, by 2016, I was getting out of the woods. I was able to function better. Everything was going great. 2017, menopause. Somewhere in June, I reached my 1 day of menopause. Woohoo, I'm out of the woods. Everything is great. not so fast. So it turns out that again, because I didn't want to know, I never really looked into menopause symptoms, everything else. I also had horribly itchy skin in the wintertime, which I thought, this is weird. I wonder what this is all about, not understanding that itchy skin is one of our
menopause symptoms. Yes.
So, so I didn't have hot flashes. I didn't have night sweats. And then in 2017, in the fall, so this is like over a year later.
So that's a year after your last period?
Yeah, about 14 or 15 months after my last period, I started getting night sweats. And at first it was just like one at the beginning of the night and one at the end of the night. And so I was like, oh, well, this is inconvenient, but okay, that's fine. It was one and everything was done. But eventually they started getting more and more frequent. And then by late December, right before Christmas 2018, the night sweats were horrific. Like they were, I don't know how many, but it felt like it was every 15 minutes. Off would go the covers, on would go the covers, off would go the covers. And I just felt that because I didn't want to know, they would end. They would pass like everything else. They would go away. Everything was fine. Just eliminate them. So I went on with my life, suffering and just getting worse and worse and worse. And I had to.
Because that's quite bad, right? As soon as you don't sleep well at night, you're fatigued. Because people are fatigued, that's often when they need to eat more sugar and caffeine during the day. That's when a lot of people would typically gain weight. They would be more irritable. It really leads to depression and sleep deprivation. So it's really that horrible downward spiral when people don't sleep well.
It's awful. It is exactly what you described. And I just kept saying to myself, if I could just get my sleep back, I can deal with all the other problems. And the only thing that was causing my inability to sleep were the night sweats. I had insomnia, but only after I was so exhausted sometimes that I'd be totally drenched, have to get up and change my nightgown, put a towel down because I wasn't about to disturb my husband, so that I could sleep again. And so after all of this, I just thought, this is like that drip water torture that you hear about, because it seems like it's okay. It's like, oh yeah, I can handle this, but it just keeps happening and happening and happening. Exactly. It was just horrific. So finally, I was sleeping in, I kept thinking, I'd stare at the ceiling and say, I wish there was some sort of fabric nightgown that I could use that would absorb and release heat in an even way, so that I could I could just sleep through these episodes. And so that was how I started thinking about it. And that was based on my professional green building background. I had just been to a conference the year earlier, and I'd seen a professor at Ryerson talk about how they were developing phase change materials that they were using in houses to absorb and release humidity and heat from a room, so that it's a passive way of heating and cooling a room. And it's like, if you ever looked at coconut oil, have you ever noticed that a jar of coconut oil in the summer is liquid and in the winter it's solid? So that's a phase change. And so I was looking, I wonder if there's fabric like that. So that's where I first went, and I didn't do anything about it. I was so tired. It was just a matter of coping through the day. Finally, one day I'd had enough. Like I actually started to cry, thinking I have to go to sleep tonight and it's going to be exactly the same as it always was. And I talked to my doctor, and she put me on some hormone therapy because I was such a basket case. But unfortunately, it actually started my migraines again. So while it worked for me, for a night sweats perspective, I couldn't use it because it gave me horrible migraines. And so I had to get rid of the HRT, and as soon as I got rid of that, the night sweats came back fast and furious, like I'd never had them. Like I just feel like I was put through.
So for our audience, for our listeners, just for interest's sake, there's a website where you can have a look at the North American Menopause Society. They're just rebranding now to Menopause Society, where they look at all the indications for hormone replacement and contraindications. And the night sweats, or we call it vasomotor symptoms, or hot flashes during the day, or night sweats, that is one of our big indications for hormone therapy. So that is not, it's not something that you must think, oh, you don't need hormone therapy for this. That is one of the major indications with a lot of science behind it, that really helps. And then typically once we give hormone therapy and people sleep better, then everything else is better. But like you said, you couldn't take it because it made your migraines worse.
Exactly. Like I just felt, how is this happening? How is every single thing I tried? Like I was getting beaten up left, right, and center. And again, I just kept thinking, well, I'm a perfectly healthy individual. I'm quite fit. I play a lot of sports. Menopause isn't going to affect me. Like still in my brain, I wasn't connecting the dots that this was all because of menopause. I didn't know that even after you passed your day of menopause, that you could still have menopause, postmenopausal symptoms, because I didn't want to know. It meant I was getting old. So instead of being prepared and understanding, I dragged myself through this. I really want women in particular to not have to go through what I went through.
But this is so common. I see it so often in patients. Everyone always say I'm too young to go through it. And then some people even have symptoms for 10 years after. So it's not necessarily something that you can just wait out. And then the other thing that you're saying is you want to educate people. And that's really the aim of this podcast, these YouTube videos, my book, is really to educate people, to enable you. I really believe knowledge is power. So if you listen today to what Cathy is saying, and if you hear yourself in what Cathy is saying, then okay, you can maybe change gears, and we don't have to suffer like you did.
No, exactly. I don't want people, I don't want people to have to suffer the way I did and be as, well, I really had my head in the sand about it. I'm too young for this to happen to me, was basically what I was saying.
Yes.
And I'm too healthy. And both of those things, being young, which I was not young, I was the exact right age for menopause. I went through menopause at 54, which is just on the other side of the average.
But it is young because we still have the next half of our life, right? And we always feel in our heart like a 12-year-old. So I've never had a patient who says, oh, now I'm feeling old enough. Even my 90-year-old patients tell me they're not old enough for this or that. But yeah, so everyone who goes through it feels, irrespective of age, we feel too young.
Exactly. So I'm trying to remember where, So I did the HRT. At the same time, she said to me, by the way, lifestyle is also connected to night sweats and hot flashes. So you might,
doctor.
And she's amazing. You might want to keep a journal and track all of your triggers, your food and beverage and sleep environment, everything else, stress level, and see if any of those are making your night sweats worse. That was what she said. So it doesn't mean that your night sweats will go away completely, but it could mean that they are reduced significantly if you identify some triggers and get rid of them.
Yes.
So that's what I did. I went right back to my old journal that I'd done for my migraines, and it's like, I cannot believe I'm taking this out again. And I started using it for night sweats. And I created a journal based on what I did, and I put it on our website. And so it's available, but I also give it to women when they are ordering the nightgown, because again, as you know, Daniela, it's about lifestyle as well as the fabric helps you sleep more comfortably, but it's not going to do anything about your night sweats. That's where the lifestyle and talking to you comes in. And we even have many of our customers who are on HRT and they still get night sweats. And this just takes that last little edge off of your night so that you can sleep more comfortably. So anyway, having said that, I used my journal and I realized it wasn't just about my food and beverage, because I started going down the research rabbit hole, and it turned out it was things like, when are you exercising? What time? How intense is your exercise? What's your stress level? All of those things that trigger the sympathetic nervous system, right? That just keep it going and going and going. And then there was also things where I really felt comfortable was examining our room environment. How warm is your room? Because that can set off your night sweats. What are your sheets and your bedding made out of? And so when I started doing that, I changed out of my old polyester nightgown that was a hand-me-down from my mom. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to go and get myself a nice, breathable cotton nightgown and wear that. And I buy my cotton nightgown. I go to bed. I'm so excited. It's the first night of the new me. And I wake up the next day and I am drenched, just drenched. And I'm so disappointed. And I thought, well, maybe I just had a bad night. The next night, same thing, same thing. A month later, I have permanent sweat stains around my chest, the chest of the nightgown, and under my arms. And it actually scared me seeing these sweat stains. And I thought, okay, this isn't working. I thought cotton would be the perfect material because it's breathable. So that was when I used my green building background. And I thought, okay, if cotton isn't working, I got to figure out why, and I've got to figure out what else is going to work. So this was all for me. I did this for my own benefit. I didn't do it. I wasn't saying, hey, maybe I should start a business. I was really saying to myself, what can I sleep in? And what can I use in order to sleep more comfortably? And what can I use that's natural? I knew that natural materials were going to be more breathable and more cooling and better for your skin and your body and everything else. So I started looking, and I'd just been to a green building conference in, I think it was December of 2018. By this time it would be about 2019, when all of this was happening, because I suffered for that long without doing anything about it. And I learned about the benefits of hemp as a building material. So hemp insulation and hempcrete, which absorb and release heat and moisture into a room within a range naturally, because that's just how hemp works. It's like, so in Canada, in the wintertime, our floorboards in real wood floors, solid wood flooring, they will shrink in the winter as they lose moisture. And I have a friend who used to put a penny in between the cracks when she was a kid. And then in the summer, it would squeeze them shut as the moisture was absorbed by the wood, the humidity from the air. And hemp is the same. It will absorb and release moisture and heat into its fiber, because the fiber is a strand that's kind of like a straw with a lot of little tiny holes in it. That's how the fiber works. So it absorbs that heat and that moisture. And then when you're cold again, it releases the heat, but the moisture is evaporated. So when I thought about that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get myself a hemp nightgown and see what happens. I could not find one anywhere. I found a couple of skimpy bikinis, and I thought, well, that's A, not going to do anything, and B, not on a woman of a certain age. So I couldn't believe I could not find anything. So I found a manufacturer, contacted them, tried about 3 or 4 different weaves and knits and thicknesses, and finally found the right thickness, made myself a nightgown, and honestly could not believe the difference in my comfort level. It was a night and day thing. And so that was when I thought, okay, this was way too much work. There is far too little selection out there available to women like us. There are tons of us out there. Why does this product not exist? And that was what got me down. I kind of got mad that we were so underserved, not just in sleepwear, but in so many different areas of menopause symptoms, because there are so many symptoms. But because I have a background in writing about materials, I thought, this is where I feel comfortable. This is the product that I want to help women get their sleep back with. And so that was how I started CoolYourSweats. But I really wanted to help women not go through what I went through, because sleep is so critical to everything else in your life. There you go, long-winded answer, but that's my answer.
No, but that is so helpful to know. And thank you for doing it. Thank you for the journey that you've gone through. Thank you for spending all that money, to create this product that has made such a significant difference in the lives of so many women. So what I'll do is I'll put your link down below in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast for people who are in North America who are interested in purchasing your product. And then they can have a look at your website, your Insta. And then for clients who are outside, I know many of our podcast listeners are in Europe or in Australia and South Africa. There's in Asia podcast listeners. If for those listeners who can't access your product, for them to be aware that they can just look out for local products, similar products that are specifically menopause related. I found with there's often just small steps that people have to take just to be aware that the bedroom needs to be much cooler to improve your quality of sleep. And the next step to know that silk nightgowns and silk pillowcases and sheets are good for our face, it's good for our hair, but it's not good for menopause.
No.
So to be aware when you go through menopause to just put all your silk bed sheets on hold somewhere, because that's not the ideal material when you go through menopause. So, and to know that you're not going through this alone, that you can, even you're very highly educated, and still it took you some time in a polyester nightgown to know to just transition to organic, So I want to help our listeners out there to not be so sleep deprived that they don't think, maybe I should just change my bedroom environment. Maybe I should just have that fan handy. A lot of my clients would have a fan at the bedside and then angle it in such a way that it's only blowing on you, that it's not blowing on your partner as well. And then, but it's a big thing, this materials, to have a nightgown that is very breathable. And so thank you so much for creating this life-changing and product. And for our listeners who are listening today or watching today, I'll also put a link below for a discount code. And it's going to be a limited time only, but if you use this discount coupon code, you can get a discount on Cathy's CoolYourSweats products.
Thanks, Daniela. That's great. Yeah, by all means, that I'm happy to do that. But I wanted to mention, we do ship. So there's a problem with our Etsy page right now. And Etsy allowed us to ship. I've been working with Etsy for a couple of months, and they said, yeah, there is a problem on their site. That was how we were able to ship worldwide. So if people from other countries are actually interested in the product, they can contact me directly. It just means that the VAT, if they have a VAT, has to be paid on their end, because I can't manage that on my end. Whereas when they ordered through Etsy, Etsy took care of the VAT and it was all included in their price. So I can do it, but they have to contact me at Cathy@CoolYourSweats.com if they're interested.
And we can also put so I'll put your email in the link below, and hopefully Etsy will be up and running soon again to be able to ship the product worldwide.
I keep asking them, hey, when's this going to be fixed? But they haven't answered. They said, yeah, we're still working on it. But the other thing I wanted to let you know is that because I believe so passionately that fabric can help or make your sleep worse, we've put together a little booklet to help people evaluate what they're sleeping on and what they're sleeping in. So it's not just about what nightgown or what sleepwear you wear. It's also about what kind of sheets you're sleeping on, what your duvet or comforter might be, and also what mattress and mattress cover you have. So one of the big tricks and tips that I've given a lot of women, because they'll say, hey, I've got your nightgown and my top side is fantastic, but my back is really sweaty and I don't know why. And I said, well, if you sleep on your back, do you have a waterproof mattress cover? And I'd say 100% of the time, the answer is, well, yeah, I do. Well, get rid of the waterproof mattress cover, at least for a couple of nights, and see if that makes a difference to your sleep. And if it does, then change out the waterproof mattress cover for a breathable, non-waterproof mattress cover. I don't care if it says it's a breathable mattress cover. If it is a waterproof, breathable mattress cover, it's not going to be effective for you, for a woman suffering from night sweats.
Yes. So, and I even see that with my patients who are not menopausal in hospital. My patients, because our hospital beds are such a way that they must be able to be cleaned properly, the material is not breathable because it's material that can be properly wiped down and sterilized. So my non-menopausal patients would all get these sweats in their back. And if they're in hospital with me for a week or two, they literally develop heat rash on their back from that waterproof mattress that they're on. So for sure, if you're menopausal, you cannot sleep on a mattress like that. If even my non-menopausal 90-year-old male patients develop heat rash on their back after a couple of days in hospital.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it's anytime you have foam or polyester or anything that is a petroleum-based product, that you have, that is acting like a barrier from allowing the heat and the moisture to escape. So whether it's a mattress, a waterproof mattress cover, or polyester sheets, all of those, you can just imagine them being like a piece of saran wrap, keeping that heat and that moisture in. And it doesn't matter what else you're wearing. If you're wearing a wonderful, one of our great nightgowns or anything else, that's breathable and heat and moisture managing. If you've got that plastic layer, that prevents any of that heat and moisture from escaping. So I always recommend that you get rid of any polyester sheets you have, and you avoid using luxury cotton sheets, which sounds counterintuitive, but the weave is so thick, and cotton absolutely loves moisture. That's why they use it for towels. So you need to get rid of cotton unless it's in a blend, because our nightgowns are actually 55% hemp and 45% cotton. And that allows them to be nice and soft, because hemp, everybody thinks, oh, that sounds like a burlap sack to me. Yeah, totally agree. But we use a lightweight blend with cotton, with organic cotton. And that just allows for a softness. It feels like a medium weight t-shirt. It is not soft and silky the way rayon or viscose is, but it's also way more effective than rayon or viscose. So that, anyway, so, you know, in terms of the best fabrics for night sweats are anything made from Tencel, and the generic name for Tencel is Lyocell. Linen is also really good. Obviously the hemp cotton blend that we use is really good. And then a very, very light summer merino wool, but that's only if, I mean, I stay away from it because the thought of wool just makes me break into a sweat. But I know a lot of women absolutely swear by light summer weight merino wool. So if that's for you, definitely go for it. It's too heavy for me. I can't wear it, but a lot of people really like it. But avoid regular wool, avoid polyester, avoid silk for both the moisture management and the heat. Wool and silk are thermal insulators, so they actually keep the heat next to you. So, you know, we want a little bit of heat because of when we go into the chill, the downward chill, but then we don't want a lot of heat, just a tiny bit.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Cathy, and thank you for helping women all around the world. Thank you for it. It was such an informative, educational podcast. I know I'm going to get lots of emails thanking me, so I'm thanking you so much. Thanks for your time today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was really fun. I love talking about fabric, which sounds super boring.
You're clearly passionate about it. That's wonderful. We need passionate people like you to develop new products, and thank you so much for doing that.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on your show, Daniela.
Okay, take care.